And there's that music again. We're here on Not a Sports Show, Not a Sports Show 1, at Not a Sports Show 1. I got my man Dino. We got the Phranchyze, and right here is our guest today, ladies and gentlemen. We have a man that's from international fight fame, the NFL. And lately, and most notably, Jay Glazer is the man that started MVP program, and we're going to talk about all of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, His Royal Highness, Prince Jaffa, Jay Glazer. What's up, Jay?
How are you, kids? How you doing,
Brother,
man?
What the hit him
Like
with
Yes, sir. Well, how you doing?
I'm living a dream, man. I'm quarantining, man. I have been quarantined with a couple NFL guys, unfortunately, that we've been training together nonstop. And man, I cannot wait for the season to start just so they stop beating the crap out of me. I'm like, get these guys out of here.
So you said you got guys you're working with. Who you working with?
So Aldon Smith, who we just got signed by the Cowboys, we got him up to 287 pounds right now.
Quit it.
Wrestle with this son of a bitch every day.
Quit
Wrestle
it.
and box and fight and spar. And as you know, I have no business doing this because I'm 50 and Jewish. I got everything against me.
Hey, but you're also rich. So it negates the fact that you're vertically challenged. We don't care. But
I don't know about that, man. But
Hey, tell us.
So I've been quarantined with him and a guy named Luke Wilson who plays for the Seahawks, and then my son, who's here with me, which is really cool that they've taken him under their wing. So we're still working out every day, just at a friend's house because we had to close Unbreakable. The very first day, I'll tell you, was real crappy. The very first day, one of our competitors called the city to make sure we were shut down, and they came walking up. And the very first day of the quarantine, they're like, "Where's Jay Glazer?" And we're like, "Well, we were closed. We were going to keep it to groups of less than 5, less than 10 people in there, and six feet apart, all that." And somebody from the city came in at West Hollywood and said, "Nope, you're closed up." They said, "Well, all right. Well, Jay's just going to be in here with his son." No, he's not allowed to work out in here. No one's allowed to work out in here.
Wow.
You have to be closed. And if anybody is, we're going to pull your business license.
Wow.
It literally happened to me day one
Wow.
of the quarantine.
that is
It's just some martial law bullshit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it was
especially if
crap,
it's your
man. It was just not
building.
cool.
and you weren't opening it for the public.
No, we weren't open for the public. I just want to go train with my son and the two guys that I'm staying with. So it's just like, oh my, you got to be kidding me. So we actually ended up training just another friend's place. But I've been, I haven't been around anybody else. It's just been us the whole time. And again, one of them is 6'5", 287. The other one's 6'5", 255. And then there's this guy. So,
Hey,
Can you point it down, this guy?
Can you tell us, what got you into the fight game? You started a long time ago, so
yeah, early.
Give
I
us
started in the early days, which is really cool.
Really in the early days.
I started wrestling in 1982. I started boxing in 86 or 88, something like that. And I was a lousy competitor, to be honest with you. It wasn't until I started training with Randy Couture that I really understood what it was like to push my breaking point and push it and push it and push it. Hence the name of my gym, Unbreakable. And then in 2001 or 2, I had a guy named Christian Montez who I was training with, who I was doing Jeet Kune Do with, who said, hey, I'm taking this mixed martial arts fight. You know what this is? I'm like, no, what is that? And he's like, it's like cage fighting. And I'm like, all right. And he's like, the UFC, and, I just need some help with takedowns. Can you help me out? I'm like, yeah, sure, because he knew I had a wrestling background. So all of a sudden, I took him down, and then he's like, all right, now that we're on the ground, you can punch me in the face. And I'm like, well, this is the greatest thing ever, really? All right. Don't threaten me with a good time, I'm in. And I trained him, and we trained together. It was actually funny because the first fight he had, we went to was an illegal fight in Russian Mafia, Brooklyn. And I took 2 NFL players with me, Jason Fabini and Jumbo Elliott, who played with the Jets. And I took them with me because they're, 6'7", 350, but not as muscle. Just if we won the fight,
wanted to get out.
Shooting, I knew they'd hit him before they hit me. True story, man. Friend of the year right here. Friend of the year. So my guy Christian ends up armbar and this like Russian Taekwondo world champion, and boom, 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 popped everything in his elbow, and I was like, dude, let's not shower, let's not change, let's get the hell out of here. So that was in 2001, I think, or two, or something along those lines. And then his second fight, I went and cornered him up in a bar in Taunton, Massachusetts, and we're sitting there and we're looking at his opponent across, who we're going to fight. And it was just some little dopey little kid who's sitting there, big ears. He's just there with his dad. And we're like, oh, we're going to beat the hell out of this dude. And it ended up being Joe Lazan. He's had more, he's had more performance of the night bonuses than anybody in the history of the UFC. Oh. That was my boy's second ever fight. And they actually fought to a war, those two. I then said, okay, I'm taking my first fight. I just had wrestling and boxing background. I had no jiu-jitsu, didn't really, didn't care to at that point because it was style versus style back then. I was confident in that here. And, well, I went out and got my ass choked out my first ever fight because I didn't know what the hell jiu-jitsu was. And I got caught in a guillotine. I actually took him down and jumped into his guard in a guillotine because I just didn't know it.
Hey, let me give you this neck.
And I woke up. I said, I better go learn this jiu-jitsu stuff. And I learned under Renzo Gracie. And then took my second fight.
That's a flex.
It's a flex.
Took my second fight during football season. I was working at CBS on the NFL Today on CBS. And I went into my bosses, Les Moonves, Sean McManus. I said, hey, I'm going to go take this mixed martial arts match. And they were like, martial arts? That's cute. Yeah, you're fine. I didn't mention anything about a cage or anything like this. And my second fight was during football season at Atlantic City Boardwalk Hall. Tapped the guy out. This time I knew not to get in the guillotine. Ended up ground and pounding him, tapping him out in the second round. I had a welt over here from headbutting him, which I think you were able to do back then. I don't remember. And I'd broken this. And I was on TV the next day and nobody had any idea. And then I was, doing submission tournaments. And then my first day at Fox ever, I just signed with Fox after that, 2003. 2004, I go to Fox, my first day of the NFL owners meeting, and I just won the Nagas the day before, but I got really busted up in the process. Like my eye was shut, my foot was broke, my ribs were all messed up. I come walking in, my eyes like this, and the chairman of Fox, David Hill, who worked right under Rupert Murdoch, he's like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "I just won the World Submission Fighting Championships." And he's like, "I don't know what the hell that is, but you're never freaking doing it again." And I was trying to take a couple of, fights on Indian reservations where you don't have to use your name. And then eventually Fox just told me, you do this, you come in one more time with anything. You come in with a hangnail, we're taking you off the air.
Wow.
I learned how to start coaching guys because I couldn't stop. It institutionalizes you, as Nate Diaz would say. And I've coached now, over 1,200 NFL players and pro athletes and a bunch of fighters, and I'm still doing it, obviously, with the Aldon Smiths and Luke Wilsons of the world. So that's how I got in. And, for me, the real world is a scary, fucked up place. Inside a cage for me, with a Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, is where I feel safe and feel value and valuable, which is obviously very backwards from how we're supposed to be.
Well, I tell you what, I've had some experience with your friend Randy Couture. And Randy, I love Randy. He's one of the coolest human beings that ever walked this planet.
He's the best.
And
let me tell you how sadistic he is. Okay, this is where Randy, off the cage, he's the nicest human being in the history of life, right? I mean, nothing better. So I'm wrestling a guy named Ed Ruth, and who fights for Bellator now, which I work for, right? And Ed was there. He comes in the gym. He's getting ready to wrestle Cuba the next day in the Worlds. And I'm like, Ed Ruth, world champion, you're in. We got to go. I got to try it, right? And Ed and I go 1-for-1. I catch him in the heel hook, boom. He catches me in a Kimura, and he pops my elbow, right? And a bunch of players were there, so a bunch of football players there, so I'm on top. And he pops my elbow, and it was like, poof, poof. And I tell Randy, oh, man, I call him up. My elbow's just like, bleh. And I call Randy. I'm like, bro, you're going to need to coach practice here for a while because this is just gnarly, right? So Randy's like, I got you, no problem. And he helped. He's our head coach. Chuck Liddell is one of our coaches, helps also. Jay Haran. We got a who's who cast over at Unbreakable.
Flexing,
The very next day, I come walking in, and Randy goes like this. How's it feeling? And he slaps my elbow.
Oh.
I go, what the hell is wrong with you? And he says to me, he literally says, it's your fault for telling me which elbow.
What?
He says something like that.
What?
Hey, this is really going to float your boat.
What?
Something like that.
I love Randy's stories because they all end the same way. Randy and I are at the Arnold Classic 2 years ago. And this guy is obnoxious that works for the After School All-Stars. And he was liquored up. And everybody kept telling him, man, just relax, man. Quit name dropping. Just be cool. Sit down. It was just 20 or 30 minutes of this. And then he was like, out of all the people there, I mean, this is the who's who of folks. He went to Randy and was like, I know you. I bet I can wrestle you. I bet I can take you. And Randy said, no, man. He's like, I'm not the one. He's like, everybody else. Jason Statham likes to play. And Jason was over. Jason said, no, I don't want to play. And he said, come on, man. Put me in one of those chokeholds. He's like, I've been told that I got a thick neck and it would be hard to choke me out. And he said, it wouldn't be hard to choke you out. And he was like, well, can you try? And I went, oh, shit. And Randy was already standing up. And he was like, so you want to sit down? So I don't want you to fall. And he was like, okay. And the guy sat down in the chair. Randy reached around, front faced him, and
steady guillotine, yeah.
8 seconds. Oh. The dude was snoring like he had been sleeping all night. Randy said, one of the guys said, man, is that safe? And he was like, no, yeah, he's just asleep. I mean, he's breathing.
Just asleep.
And the guy said, he said, you want to wake him up? And he was like, everybody at the same time said, no. I mean,
let him sleep.
Oh, my God, just let him sleep, man. And Randy
will do that to anybody, man.
Randy just patted him. Just slap, look.
You got to slap him, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy woke up and he was like, I told you you can't. And everybody was like, see, you should have left his ass asleep. Oh, man. Like, Randy, I love Randy.
Chuck is patient. I have no patience, but I won't go with anybody. Like, I'll only go with my friends and train with them because we have no ego part of it. But when we go somewhere to train, everybody wants to, if they're shot at the title, like, oh, my God, I want to say I choked out Jay Glazer. I want to say I choked out Chuck Liddell. So Chuck and I don't do that. Randy will go anywhere. And he just murders these people.
Oh, man.
Murders them.
Like every story I've ever heard ended in Chuck, ended in Randy just going, hey, man, you're not going to get over on me. I'm not the one. Chuck, I love Chuck, too.
Western star.
Chuck spent a lot of time here in Austin. And we would go hang out at different spots. Mainly the Yellow Rose. I love that dude.
Shout out Yellow Rose.
Shout out to Yellow Rose. I can't wait for the quarantine.
Realized.
Yeah, just forgot that.
It's all good.
Little misses here.
All good.
Mama knows. But man, I tell you, you talk about a good time. You got some good guys working.
The thing is about both of them, though. Both those guys, like people don't understand, I think a lot of fighters, both guys, okay, they have the same qualities. They are loyal as could be, and they got the biggest hearts in the world. Like people don't understand the people in this sport. They're just the loyalty and the humanism behind the ribcage is different than so many other people. That's why I love them so much.
Where do you think that comes from, Jay? Like, where do you think that kind of lethality in your ability as a person, where do you think that kind of where do you think that balance comes from? Is it because you have that kind of that you're so sound in who you are and your training,
so secure in yourself,
yeah, that you don't have to like be that guy. But then some guys that are just as good as fighters are weird too.
You know what? Like the true sign of strength is the true sign of strength. It ain't this. It's vulnerability.
Right.
And when you have this, you could be vulnerable like me, Chuck, Randy. we freaking cry to each other all the time. Like, we open up and we're vulnerable, and no one's questioning our manhood. We're
Not at
good, so
all.
we can cry over anything. Shoot, I'll sit there and cry in a damn Disney movie in 2 seconds. I don't care what everybody's gonna say, but that's where, and like MVP, when I started our charity, I wanted that same feeling of after we're in a cage and we beat the hell out of each other. That's where conversations come, and that's where we open up and we cry, or in the locker room or at the battlefield. You open up to each other. I think it's that, and I think also, listen, the sport's popular now, but when we all started it, you couldn't tell anybody. Like, I was trying to tell people what I was trying to do. They looked at me like I had 8 heads, and it's not like you could tell some girl's dad, like, oh yeah, a cage fighter. Like, you couldn't say it. So we were so somewhat ostracized, and we all got closer. Back then, they'd fight, and then everybody would go to the bar together afterwards. You'd all hang together. It's not like it is now. You have entourages and you're a superstar celeb. Everybody just hang out together at the casino bar together after you just fought. It was such a unique tribe, if you will, and it's a special tribe, man. I'm grateful I got in. Again, I only had 2 fights because of Fox. I wish I had 200, but they stopped it. But at least I was able to have it, afterwards in the gym. Be able to use that, the mindset to train guys. But I'm glad I got in the early days of it where it was so special. It was the ground level of the sport. It was majestic, man. It really is a majestic sport.
It's cool that being one of the godfathers of the sport. We talked about Randy and we talked about Chuck and the kind words that you have for them and other guys that are the like. And
Yeah.
we got away from who we have on the show. And I want to take this time to point out the fact that Jay is one of the most humble celebrities. And I've had a lot of times in my life where I've met stars and met celebrities in sports and film and television that disappointed the shit out of me. And the first time that I met Jay, he didn't know me other than what he had seen on television or heard, but he came up and hugged me. And he was like, man, you big son of a bitch. And he came and grabbed me and was like, man, I appreciate you coming to the gym. And started telling me we got mutual friends, and namely The Rock. And we went back and forth and just sitting there. And he was like, I want you to work out with us, man. And shit, I said, all right, I'll come up the next day. I came in, my shorts worked out, and I never went back. They worked the shit out of me.
I never went back.
They worked me so hard. I was like, no, sir.
I'm saying you never went back. You came back all the time.
I came back. I just didn't work out. I come in jeans and a dress shirt.
Talking shit.
No, sir. You ain't finna haul me out no more. But I tell you what, the heart of the guy that we talking to right now is what I love the most. Not the celebrity, but the man. And we talked earlier about who was staying with you and who you were training with. I've had the luxury and pleasure of sitting in on several MVP meetings that ended in guys crying and talking to me crying, talking about their families, talking about their journey. And what made you want to give to the world like that? Because you're not just giving to that individual. You're giving to the whole community around that individual, and you're introducing them back to society from a broken standpoint as now a fixed product that has challenges and needs to come back. We talked about Ryan Leaf and the list of other folks. Like, what made you want to do that?
God gave me the ability to communicate, man. And to be honest with you, man, I battled depression and anxiety my whole life. That really, really, really lousy depression and anxiety. I was born with it. It's not something that came because something bad happened in my life. I was just born with anxiety and depression, clinical depression and anxiety. And the only thing that gets me, like, I live in the gray all the time. And the gray sucks. It sucks. And I figured out the only thing that gets through some of the gray, and to even have a thought of maybe I can see some blue, is to be of service to other people. And that is not being cliche at all. It legitimately is the best antidepressant in the world. So this is like the fourth foundation that I've started. I've always done stuff. I did one called Touchdown Dreams, which is like Make-A-Wish on steroids. I used to do in New York City. I used to go to the post office and get letters to Santa, and I would go and fill out these requests from these children in inner cities in New York.
Wow.
And here's a Jewish guy showing up on Christmas Eve with all these Barbie dolls and Nintendos and clothes and blankets and jackets and just anything they needed. And like, I always had to do this to battle my own demons. And when MVP, for me, it made so much sense because, you know, I had so many football players being in the NFL who were just, man, they finish up and they're like, oh man, I used to play in the NFL. I'm like, I don't know how many times I could tell them, like, no, motherfucker, you played in the NFL. Not, oh, I used to play. You played in the NFL, right? You got to appreciate your scars. And at the same time, I started going around the military and training military and doing different things. And I realized how broken they were when they came back. And their whole thing was like, they'd come back home here and they're like, oh, I'm different. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, you're different. Different is good. Different leads to success. And I said, you know what, man, if I put these two together and they can coach each other up, because the military looks up to pro athletes look up to military. Then all of a sudden you've got a tribe again that you could brag about. You got a team, and you got a team that understands you, so we can have that vulnerability. And I really just think, listen, the thing I'm most proud of is we have several thousand members, right? 22 vets a day kill themselves. And the epidemic, it's not just in vets, it's out here with the whole world. And of our MVPers, I'm proud to say, I would say somewhere along the lines of over 60 to 70% of our MVPers had attempted suicide before meeting us. I'm proud to say that since joining MVP, we've had zero, not one. If you could imagine that, not one.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Because we tell them why we're more apt to want to commit suicide, but also we're giving them a team again, a tribe. Don't put that shit on us. And, you know, every time a teammate of theirs kills themselves, I'll say to them, hey, guys, look how many people are crying in this room right now. Okay, look how many people are crying. Do you think your brother who's killed himself is in whatever afterlife you believe, and he's seeing all the sorrow, and he's going, yes, he's celebrating it, or is he sitting there going, oh, no, what did I do?
What did I do?
No. So you have a chance to see the carnage you had left behind, and don't do it. So now we have a slogan of don't be one. Because we've had none, don't be one. We've had guys who said, I was almost one. I won't be one. I promise you I won't be one. So I know we're going to have it. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But I do believe that our foundation could be the group that changes the whole narrative in this country and in society moving forward. Because suicide is not okay, dude. It's not cool. No. It's not okay to leave us, even those that you love, with more hurt and more pain and more sorrow. It's not okay. So you got your first choice in life. You choose life or death. You have got to choose life. If not for you, for us. Dude, we had this past week, oh my God, we had the most incredible moment in MVP history this past week. Now think about that. The most incredible moment. And look, you always got to look and go, you know, don't try and figure life out because it'll drive you crazy, right? So why does this virus happen? We don't know. Okay, but there are a lot of silver linings out of it because we have to make the silver linings. So last week, how about this? You know, I think you met Elliot Ruiz, one of our Marines who was part of the mission that saved
yes, I did.
7 American POWs, right, or 9 American POWs, okay? So there's a woman named Shoshana who's the first African-American woman ever POW. 17 years ago, her, Jessica Lynch, they all got caught. And she was held by, she thinks, Saddam's guards, the Republican Guard, and she just got handed off from like Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Republican Guard, whatever. She's not sure who handed her off. Well, this crew of our MVPers, we reunited our crew of MVPers at a Bellator event in January 25th, the one that Ava fought on, and that Cyborg fought on. We reunited them for the first time since they freed the American POWs. Last week, that American POW, Shoshana, came on the call. She has never seen the guys in 17 years. Because think about it. You get rescued, the Taliban members still trying to get her. And they have to get her out immediately to a helicopter. And the Iraqis, they shot both her ankles. They did a bad number on her. They had immediately medevac her out, right, get her over there. And then those guys had to go back in and fight. So they never saw her again.
Wow.
17 years later, we reunited them on our Zoom call last week.
Wow.
Cow.
My spine
Man,
is.
I tell you,
spine is
Look
tingling.
at this, man.
right? Yes.
Look at that.
That's
And
crazy.
she comes on and she goes, all I remember, she said, she said that day, and she was captain for 22 days. And she said, I remember someone trying to kick the door in and we heard American voices. But before that, we heard bombing and we thought we were going to get blown up by our own bombs. We knew what was happening. But all of a sudden I hear American voices like, oh my God, are we being saved? She said, all I know is I had this death grip on this one American Marine's arm as he pulled me out of there. I had this grip on his arm. And oh my gosh, I'll never forget that feeling. And all of a sudden, boom, that guy pops up on the screen. And his name is Kearney. And she goes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she just starts crying and she goes, thank you so much. Thank you. Said, well, hell, then we all start crying. And
Oh, man, I'm about to bust out now.
oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
It was the most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Unbelievable.
And Kearney starts saying, hey, kick it in that door. It's like, Shoshana, they think it's like the movie that's not. It took me like 7 tries to kick that door in. And I'm horrified as I'm kicking the door and not getting it, what they're going to do to you. And she just starts crying again. Thank you all. And then all of a sudden, boom, another guy comes up. He's like, Shoshana, I set up the perimeter, the security for that. So I never got to meet you in person because they got you right out. And she's like, oh my God, it was the most magical. It was probably the most powerful moment of my life. And what's coming out of it is there's a mural of them at 29 Palms. And we are going to fly her out and reunite them in person.
I'm coming.
29 Palms.
I'm coming. As
Once
soon
this
as
is over.
bro, me and
Coming,
Dino
right?
are on the way.
No doubt. No
Man, we
doubt.
look, we're gonna shoot that. We're
Yeah.
gonna shoot
Look at
that.
that. Right? Can you imagine, man? I mean,
I
how,
can't.
and
I can't
she's had a
imagine.
rough go. She's been institutionalized 3 times over her guilt that she survived.
Right.
And she's telling us all that. She's like, I've just had a really difficult time with survivor's guilt and what happened down there. And she's like, I don't. And I said to her, Shoshana, I don't know why things happen in life, but you have other members here, like Elliot Ruiz, who have, because he's been able to help save you, he has now turned around and saved a lot of other people.
Right.
Maybe that's why it happened. And maybe now you could join us and you could then go save
That's the
other
message.
people along with our message.
That's the
And
message.
she's like, I am all in. I'm totally in with you guys. And she's going to get other American POWs on with us that we can help out. And man, that's what life's about, man. If that doesn't cure my own depression, anxiety, and all of us, I don't know what will.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. Like, there's many times that I've come in there and I always get the same feeling as the first day I met you. I get every time I come in there, and you said, man, as much as God put me on this earth to help people, I'm still messed up. And he said, and I said, man, I'm messed up too. And I said, our friend is messed up. And we just laughed and joked. And he's like, but you know what, man? Everybody gonna win. They're gonna come out of this better. And I appreciate you, man. I as much as
appreciate that.
you're my boy, I appreciate you as a human being and how much you help in this world.
Thank you, my friend. Well, my exact quote is, I'm fucked up, but I'm good with my fucked upness.
There we go.
Yes, that's
There you
it.
go.
That's all that matters,
That's
man.
the quote.
There you go.
And like let's go to football, man. Like I'm so happy that you're on. Jay Glazer's on with us, guys. For those that are just coming in, Jay, like you're with Fox, and we talk about football all the time. Even though we're not a sports show, we talk sports.
A little bit.
Teeny bit.
Tiny bit. And what do you think about the Dallas Cowboys signing Andy Dalton?
I think, look, backup quarterback is the second most important position on the team.
Right.
When you don't have a quarterback, life in the NFL sucks. All of a sudden, you don't know how to coach. All of a sudden, you don't know how to pick players. All of a sudden, everybody else, your coaching signals are dumb. Like, when you do have a quarterback, you're an awfully smart coach suddenly. All your calls seem to be a lot better. Suddenly your GM knows how to pick players. It really goes by your QB. And, you saw that with the Eagles a couple years ago. Carson Wentz went down. Man, their backup quarterback stepped in and led them to a Super Bowl. That's why you need a solid backup quarterback. This isn't like a power play of, all right, Dak, if you don't want it, like Dak's going to be
Dak is
their starting
Dak.
quarterback this year. He's going to be their starting quarterback. But to have, you just never know what happens. You've got to make sure, you have a more than serviceable backup quarterback who, especially with the weapons they have over there on that offense, just in case.
You know what? And another thing is Mike McCarthy, the Jones family is not synonymous with making smart moves, but making impulsive moves. Signing McCarthy, who studied the whole
He's a
time.
grunt. He's a grunt.
Yes,
That's what they needed, right?
they needed it, and he's changing the narrative. So
Yes,
he gets another quarterback. He keeps the existing offensive coordinator because they already are successful offensively. Why change it?
Right.
But it's the brass, it's the upper epsilon of decision making that the Cowboys have lacked since Jimmy Johnson left. And
Yeah.
you talk about that. I mean, you understand the
Here's
boardroom.
Here's the thing. They have lacked it since Jimmy, but the GMs that are the Joneses have actually done a phenomenal job the last 5 years.
Done okay, yeah.
Incredible. They don't get enough credit as the personnel decision. They have a guy over there named Will McClay, who's their personnel director, and Stephen Jones, who's basically their GM, have done a phenomenal job building the right way in the draft.
Yep.
Right? They started getting the Zach Martins and the Leighton Vander Esch's and guys like that who can build instead of swinging away for the Johnny Manziels, which they almost, were thinking about. They stopped doing those things, and they started building up the right way. And they started building, and I understand that people are going to look at some of the other moves, the Aldon Smith moves, and they'll still have things like that. But, the difference was Mike McCarthy came out to the gym, not with Aldon Smith, before Mike was ever head coach of the Cowboys. And those two guys just bonded like they were two old Irish guys sitting at the bar in Pittsburgh. Like, it was incredible how much these two guys bonded. And that was the conduit there. So they didn't look at that like it was such a high risk or high gamble. The rest of the world doesn't know because they haven't been around Aldon.
Right.
And his sobriety. We've seen the sobriety for, now going on 10 straight months, which is, trust me, huge for him and how he's changed his life. But it's, they finally have a grunt in there, and that's what Mike is. And you're right. I think, and I've talked to the Joneses about it, saying, "Oh my gosh, this was like, it's no slight on Jason Garrett, but Mike McCarthy is football, 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 football." And you're going to respect a guy that is all football all the time, because the one thing the Joneses do is it's about business for them, right? So you need another guy on the other side, totally on the other side, who's all football, who can counteract the business end of it. They're going to make their money.
Right.
That's why they're the most successful franchise in sports when it comes to business. But you need somebody to offset them football-wise. But let's not discount how good they've been the last 5 years, with their personnel.
Did you say that it was Mike McCarthy and Aldon Smith who really connected at the gym?
Yeah. So Mike came in. Mike's daughter trains at the gym. Mike and I are very close. Mike is our, believe it or not, the three biggest donors for MVP are, this will surprise you, Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, who's the head coach of the Falcons, and Roger Goodell, personally.
Wow. That's amazing.
The three biggest donors to MVP.
Wow.
That's
Personal donors.
really cool.
That's
Mike
really
McCarthy gave $100,000 right at meeting one of our Navy SEALs from SEAL Team 6 who was going through a hard time, who we helped, as he said, preventing him from starting his pistol.
All right.
And we got him. It's still a daily battle. And Mike met him and heard the story, and he's like, "I'm in, $100,000, bam. What do I have to do?" And not only that, he's flying me down to Dallas. I'm gonna fly down to Dallas, and we're gonna meet. We're gonna bring in all these CEOs of the top companies in the Dallas area to the Dallas Star. where Mike is going to hold an MVP fundraiser so we can open MVP Dallas immediately.
Wow.
And Alden is
I
going
want
to
in.
help life coach it.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Man, that is awesome.
That-
And
cool?
you talked about Aldon being, sober for the last 10 months and his relationship with Mike McCarthy. I know that about not wanting to let somebody down. And Aldon, Mike has given a second life to Aldon Smith, allowing him to be able to come in and improve himself again and say, you know what, man, I got you, but don't let me down. Let's lean on each other. I gotta lean on you. You gotta lean on me.
That's a
Got to keep your honor clean.
That itself is a message in itself. Like, more people need to give other people second chances.
Yeah.
Can you speak on second chances?
Yeah, man, I'm the king of second chances. I believe in it, like, absolutely. And the interesting part was I started kind of releasing videos slowly but surely and talking about Alden, and all these teams got interested. And he was like, it was so funny. Mike was the first one he met, and he just had this loyalty to him. And he met him 3 months earlier, and he's just like, man, I just really liked him. I really liked Mike McCarthy. I felt comfortable. I felt like he believed in me. And he spurned every other team that, like, there were other teams we could have had start a little bidding war. And he didn't want to. Alden just wanted to go right to Dallas and go be with Mike. And his old coach, Jimmy Tomasulu, who was the head coach of the 49ers, is now the defensive line coach
Jimmy T.
of the Cowboys. But second chances, man, for me, like, life is about trying to always improve yourself. Like, we can't stop trying to get better.
Yeah.
We can't stop trying to, whatever we've done in the past that haunts us, it's okay to forgive yourself and love yourself up.
That's it.
Yeah. And too many of us don't know the skills to love ourselves up and self-love. And you have to, because we're not God. We're not the ones we shouldn't give ourselves our own death sentence or damn ourselves or anything like that. We've got to be forgiving. And that means forgiving other people, but really forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why Unbreakable, our gym, we're the king of second chances, man. We helped a lot of people through issues, and every time we do it and we empower someone, and I said before, I'm fucked up, but I'm good with our fucked upness. That fucked upness is an empowerment. It's not a damage. You got to look at your own crazy as an empowerment, not as a damage.
Right.
Makes us different. Different is good. So I'm the king of second chances, man.
Man, go ahead, Dino.
I was just going to say, back on a football thing for a second, and you're right, Jay. That's powerful, and you can't really love anyone else or forgive anyone else until you do yourself. From a football standpoint, what you're saying about Aldon Smith and his second chance with the Cowboys is scary for the rest of the NFC East, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
NFC.
Yeah, for the rest of the
I'm up
NFC
at
in general. If
287 right now.
if I'm a quarterback in the NFC East, I'm not liking this interview right now.
280-pound Aldon Smith?
We have him at 287.
Unbelievable.
With a V.
Long arms.
And like he played about 250,
Right.
258, something like that. We have him at 287.
How much of that's
a V and
Has
boxes
his
in his
legs
stomach.
and hips came back yet?
yeah.
Oh, dude, it's unreal. Like it's going to be scary. He's so freaking strong. And listen, we've been doing the weights, but also the MMA training. We do a lot of, very violent hand work, and we do a lot of wrestling to help you with your leverage and to help you understand the body language, right? So we do. I mean, Mark, we do pummeling. We pummel, because that's all.
I'm a pummel with Dino after the show.
Awesome.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
Hey, but let me tell you this. We get these guys going 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute break, of pummeling, right, or fighting.
Oh, my
And
God.
if you can do a 3-minute round of that with a 1-minute break, that's actually Mike McCarthy calling me right there. Hold on, let me decline it.
Oh,
flex.
That's
Elbow
a
Elbow
flex.
flex.
Oh no.
That's a big time flex.
I just said no to Mike McCarthy for you slappies. You kidding me? So if we can get you going 3-minute rounds with a 1-minute break, you damn sure could do an 8-second round with a 1-minute break, which is what your round is on a football field.
Sure.
We got to get these guys to think, man, look what you're able to do. So our fighters, our players, never put their hands on their hips. Don't ever show that they're tired. I want you to see where that guy crossing you is going like this, and then I want you to start sharpening your weapons, man, and start bringing it up and start chirping to him. Oh man, you're getting tired, huh? And that's where you're going to see our guys really shine. And our guys have really done a great job. I want them in between rounds, standing up, pacing back and forth, looking at you while you're at your stool, going, what's wrong with Randy Couture? Why is he not sitting in his stool? A lot's wrong with Randy Couture. That's why he's not sitting in his stool. Right. And it starts getting in your head, and you start forgetting why you're tired. And look, you can control it here between the years. What I mean is, think about this. I'm sure you guys have all been in a situation where you're totally exhausted, right? You're laying down, all of a sudden your brother, your friend come up and they twang you. And all of a sudden you jump up and run after them, right? All of a sudden you forget that you're tired.
Right.
So you control it right here, the 6 inches between your ears.
Man, you are not a one-show interview. And hopefully we can get you on in the next month, man, and maybe get Aldon on and talk to him. Like, we respect what you're doing, your work. And when I told the guys, I was like, yo, man, we got to get Jay on the show. And they wanted to know who you were as a guy rather than just the football announcer that we see on Fox. I think both. I don't have to say much to Dino and Phranchyze now about who you are.
No.
Man. I appreciate it, guys. Now listen, I'm still the same fucking moron that you guys think I am on Fox.
Yeah.
Let's not get away from that.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more there.
Some layers. There's some layers there.
You're like an onion.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like, we don't describe you like Shrek. It's like an onion. It's layers.
I was talking to a guy named Chris Lights Out Lytle the other day, and he's a
He
big
choked me
fan
out
of yours.
about 90 times.
What'd you say?
Choked on about 90 times.
He choked me out in the same freaking guillotine about 90 times.
Really? You didn't tell me that.
Freaking guillotine, man. Damn, you can't get away from it.
Yeah, we have him on the show next week to talk a little UFC and a little bare knuckle boxing. That's what I was hoping for, a story there that I can ask about him. But I'll ask.
Yeah, I went and trained with him one day with Matt Mitrione and him, and man, he freaking choked me out literally 90 times, probably in the same freaking session. He is a beast, and he actually, whenever I go to the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, he comes and hangs out with me, and I take him out with me and the Joneses and all the coaches and the Mike Tomlins and Sean Paytons, and Chris comes and hangs out. He and Mitrione are sometimes my plus one. We go and hang out. And ask him about that. Ask him about hanging out with me at the combine, because I pull the curtain back and I let him see what it's really like. And he's like, he looks at us, he looks at all these coaches like, wow. But then he sees what morons we all are really together.
Yeah.
And we're just like everybody else, just a bunch of freaking morons.
Yeah.
Ask him about it.
Oh my God, I can't wait now. I can't wait, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
I love you.
I don't want to keep you forever.
If you could promote
100%.
Any combat vet who needs help,
Yeah.
any athlete who wants the help, we're free. Go to vetsandplayers.org, vetsandplayers.org. And if you guys, anybody wants to make a donation out there, we certainly need our help. Again, especially during this crisis, we're actually growing because we're getting more people who need to help us. Again, go to vetsandplayers.org to help us out. We appreciate it.
Hey, man, I don't have that Mike McCarthy money, but I'm definitely going to put y'all in our rotation of charities. So I'll get that information long before Wednesday. But we're going to come on Wednesday.
All right, perfect.
Yeah,
Good.
100%.
I'll shoot you the Zoom link.
Real quick. You can answer in 30 seconds. But who you have in Ferguson and Gaethje?
What's that?
Who do you have in the Ferguson fight this weekend?
Ferguson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Ferguson. He's that talented.
Yeah.
He's just awkward. He's hard to train for.
Yeah.
Now he's so awkward in his style. It's hard to find somebody to spar who's like him.
Cool.
So
that's it. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna warn you guys. I'm gonna just give you a little heads up though. When you come on this week, Mark, he's seen it. He prepared for some real stuff. Like, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the tissues.
And take it all in though, man. Let it empower you. Let it fill you up.
What's up?
Cool?
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Guys,
Truly
Jay
appreciate it.
Glazer. Thank Jay for coming on. Look forward to having this episode air very, very soon. We'll see y'all down the road.
See you, Big Sexy.
All right, at
It's
it.
me. I'm guessing that's.
You're talking to me. I'm not talking to you.
Thanks, man.
I'm finna pummel your ass, Dino.